Okay, perfect. Great. お願いします。
お願いします。
Great. We'll just do a little bit of loosening. So just working shoulder width, loosening up the spine a little bit. Just shaking the hands out. A few nice deep breaths. Just shake them out. Any way you like, to the front, sides. Into rotation. Take it into a wave from the spine. You think about opening and closing the body. Open out to the back, close it down to the front. And mobilize the whole spine, lower body as well. Letting the arms just follow the movement. Yes. Great. And we're just taking to swing, so just raising the hands up. Get the legs a little bit wide. Get them to about shoulder width. Get them to about hip width. So you want the hips, knees, and the feet to kind of line up, and then just dropping down into it. So just roll them right down. Arms are just arcing a little bit away from the body as they come down. Have the sense of raising up through the feet. So you raise the hands up. Set good. Set nice. Good. Okay, great. We'll just focus on one alignment. So there's these three main areas of alignment in the body. The legs are kind of fairly easy, especially in this exercise. You've got the hips to the knees to the feet, and the arms again. In this exercise, kind of easy in a way. So you've got the shoulders to the elbows to the wrists to the hands. So that kind of alignment through the one we'll look at is the one in the spine, or the one from the upper body. So think about the tailbone, the thoracic spine, and then think about the back of the head. Especially in this exercise, focus on the top of the spine, the head, as you do this. So the tendency in this one is to do something like this, to cut out that alignment in the body. So you don't want to drop it down, obviously. We're kind of looking to the ground, but keep a sense of, you go down a sense of length through the spine, length through the spine. So they're not, in this case, obviously you're breaking the vertical alignment, or you're breaking that vertical line with the ground, and you're taking into a kind of active movement, but keep the sense that you're stacking the structure. So the top movement's really useful because it allows you to get a kind of really a sense for that line. You want the sense of the spine coming into alignment, and then you maintain that length through it as you go down. As you go down. Nice, nice, nice. There we go. Great. Okay, we'll just take this into a little bit. We're going to go into the sword work. So just take the hands now as if you're holding the sword with them. You need to kind of place the hands together. The key thing is that the arms are now going to work down the center line directly. So what you're looking for now is the sense of the hips and the hands connecting. Really an easier position to come from because the hands are basically in front of the hips. So you're going to draw them up right to the top and then think about cutting them away. Drawing them up, arcing them out. Again, just thinking about the alignment with the spine. Letting the feet receive the kind of structure of the body. So working right down the center line of the body. Good. Wow. Yeah, good. Nice. Yeah, great. Okay, great. So think about the emphasis in this movement, especially in this movement and with sword work as well, it tends to be on the descent. So I put a lot of focus, a lot of concentration in this, and then this becomes kind of an empty movement away. I'm just kind of lifting it up to the top. So really think about filling and feeling both sides of those movements. So really take your time, in this case with the sense of raising up through the structure, but fill that movement really with a sense of finding the structure nice and deeply into it. We use this kind of movement all the time, especially if you think about any kind of kokyu movement, raising, yurimi, ikkyo, all those kind of movements, they involve a sense of raising through the structure. So really just get a sense of you filling that movement with an equal amount of concentration. That's it. That's it. Yeah, good. Wow, nice, nice, nice. Okay, great. We'll take it into the sword. Just take a walk in and just exactly the same exercise. So first get a nice shoulder width, hip width structure. Yeah. Taking the sword and then again just working right from the top. Yeah, and just swinging it down. Keeping the structure right to the top. Swinging it through. The key thing first to feel is that the sword's just passing straight through the center line again. So you want it to arc without any sense that it's kind of being pulled, pushed either side, left and right. Just going to kind of descend straight down. Try and imagine you're just going to align behind that kind of arc as it falls. As the sword falls, the bokken falls. Just align your movement behind it. Okay, good. Just play with two positions in this case. So this comes from the first breather in a sense where we come back and find the back, this kind of structure. So again, this has a strength, but it also has a weakness in terms of, because it's an exercise, not in terms of combat, in the sense of opening out, but in the sense that what it can do is it starts to throw the shoulders out of the structure. So I start to do things like this, the shoulders become kind of overactive, they start to be thrown back and forward. And especially if I go fast and I start to do kind of repetitive cuts, this really starts to not only weaken the structure, but like destroy all the base, everything goes out. So play here, just with coming up to this position, just at the top. So you just kind of find this kind of structure and then just let it come down. So this one, the benefit of this position, where you would kind of cut from it in terms of sword work, and it's where we kind of position in terms of number 2 in the 𝒊𝒏𝒈. But the benefit of this is it puts you in a much clearer structure or much solider structure in terms of the shoulders. Dropping through. So just play with that range, just that point before you go to the back. That's it. There we go. Nice. Good. Great. Okay, good. We'll go to now just placing it. So I'm doing this a lot recently, but just get the sense now you can either work from this position or from the back. The key thing is you go to the back, don't let the shoulder kind of open out, you end up in this position, the chest starts to come out. So find that kind of position or use that position. And then what you want to do now is just think about slotting the sword down into the ground. So you want to feel like, if you imagine like Taina Hinko, this position, the hands hit the ground, The same sense here, the sword's going to kind of slot into the ground. So you don't in this case, keep it slow. So there's no sense of kind of the focus out of the sword. Just as if there's a kind of coffee table in front of you, just kind of place it in. That's it. Wow. Great. Okay, good. Imagine in this case if you imagine rather than like a table or something solid in front of you, imagine without actually going down further into it, imagine that you hit something that's absorbent. So it's going to absorb the power and kind of sink down into it. Now, if it's really absorbent in a case, you would kind of sink it down. You would sink the cut through it. I don't want it to go lower down, but just imagine that what you're hitting is going to receive it. This sense that it's going to slot into it again. So you've got a kind of little bit of a sense that the sword's going to kind of penetrate into the ground below it. Just with your feeling, not with the actual movement of kind of sitting down into it. Just with the sense of, yeah. Up, down, right into the ground. So, yeah, good. Right. Okay, just a little bit on the focus here. So you're just going to work just with a light up and down movement. So just play with that again. The key here is keep that sense of the heaviness. As we start to enter the focus, this sense of the arc tends to be lost, and I tend to go like push at the end of it. Again, pushing the end of it. And this all destroys the body, and you can see it in the body, it starts to everything ruptures out. So just get a sense that you're working in a kind of light movement, heavy in the body, and then when you've got that, just every so often, just find the focus in the tip. Raise, sink, settle it into the focus. Raise, sink, settle it. There, settle it. Just play with it. Just that little bit of focus at the end. Yeah, and again, think about that you're kind of hitting into something that's going to kind of absorb it. So again, what you don't want to think is that you're kind of hitting like a hard surface where it's going to kind of rebound out. And my tendency, even if I'm using my imagination to it, if I'm kind of hitting something hard, since the shoulders start to load up at the top and end up in these kind of positions, your butt probably start to stick out to kind of compensate the shoulders rolling up at the top. It's kind of natural because I've got a feeling of something kind of hitting and bouncing up through the body, so I want the shoulders to kind of become rigid to do it. So you don't want that to go into that position. So just keep the sense the shoulders can stay low. And like you're, again, that feeling like you're entering into something. So don't let the sword kind of dribble out in that sense, but keep the sense that the body's gonna, and the sword's gonna, drop through. So you want the feeling to drop through the ground without the sword actually physically dropping. There. That's it. Great. Nice. Good. Boom. Good. Boom. Okay, yeah. Good. Good. Yeah, now there's a little bit of, if I'm going to this level of flexibility, again, it comes back to rigidity. Go to the full cut now, and what I want you to think about is the point where the hips are going to stabilize in the movement. So if I do it, what we traditionally do is like teach people to do it together. It's like if you go to the first group, hands and feet together. Hands and feet together. They all got the cut lands with the feet and the hips, which is fine. It's where you kind of start with the form, because we practice this a lot as well. Get the sense that as you do this, the point where the hip's going to stabilize a little bit before the cut. So a little bit before the focus. The hips stabilize. The hips stabilize. Now at the point of the focus, the hips are stable. So the sword can really can penetrate into the ground. If not, it's going to kind of, it's going to again get all these kind of rebounds in the body. Now you'll either let them happen, the body will kind of wobble, or you'll go into a kind of rigid kind of holding patterns, which again, you don't want. It's kind of not very efficient in terms of movement. There we go, but nice. It's just a fraction before, bam, hips settle, bam, Nice. Great. So again, one of the main reasons we're using the weapon is because it amplifies a lot of the issues that we've got in terms of bodywork. So partners help and also weapons help. So anything where the structure's out now, the key one here for us, especially in this style, our tendency here is to push out with the body. So push out with the sword. So we've got a sense that we're doing percussion. So the tendency is for the to get something like this. So really get a sense the sword's going to amplify all those problems in the body. Now I'll either resist them, pull the body tight again, or or just let them happen, and the structure will kind of, I'll feel really weak, kind of out of structure. So just really get to a point where you can feel that the structure's in. Structure's in. So keep it nice and kind of slow, nice and light. And then anything I do with the sword, I'm going to add the sword in itself, even going slow, is really amplifying all the kind of issues. If I start to pick up speed and power, it's also going to really amplify it. So go there if you like. Just be really careful and listen to the body all the time. The sense of pulling out, pushing, you really want to listen to those adjustments in the body. Listen to them and use them. There. Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, and also don't be concerned about doing them kind of perfect each time. I got really obsessed at one point. Like, they're gonna make a perfect show, it's got to be exactly straight, it's got to hit the ground bang like this and not move. And you get obsessed with it, but it's this kind of training, although it's useful sometimes to go through, it's kind of a dead end in a way. So the problem with that kind of training is I don't do a perfect one, and I don't rush out of it. No, that won't do. No. What I want to do is when you do this, let it settle into the body. So it's not perfect. Give up that idea of like a perfect cut. It won't happen, probably. Maybe 1 in 1,000. But just get the sense that you're going to cut down, let it settle. Really feel where the body is. And again, use that as kind of feedback for the next one. You're hoping to go into something more balanced each time, but sometimes it means also going out of it, making a mistake. It's fine. Let it settle. The key thing is just at the end of it now. Just let it settle down into the body. Okay, perfect. We will just take it to a little bit of first Suburi and take it to Zengo. The main key difference now is just the sense of drawing the foot back. The key thing now is you're not in square on with the hips, you're going to enter the hips into the hammy. But keep all those things you've just done, the sense of cutting through the center line, placing your weight through the sword, and then adding a little bit of focus. Adding a little bit of focus. You're going to just let each one kind of settle. Settle into the cut. Good. Okay, the main thing to focus on here, think about the function of the hammy in terms of the cut and why we're doing it. So we're not in this sense like in a square on posture, like you would find in kendo, where I'm kind of just looking to kind of snap in, bring the hips forward. In that case, I'm really just worried about the hips kind of traveling in space and my ability to snap the arms to get kind of stall at points or whatever. So what you're looking for in this, we'll go into the 𝒂𝒊𝒕 at the end, but imagine you're doing that the last cut of each of the 𝒂𝒊𝒕. So what you want to do, without going into that kind of yokomen structure, but feel that you're slotting the hip through. So you're looking to attach that arc now into a kind of wedging movement with the hip. So you've got that down movement, the sense of finding the ground, but you've also got the sense of the hips wedging into the movement. So just play with it, but really get a sense of the kind of function of that movement, why we're practicing in this kind of hammy. is that sense to allow the hip to really slot in and occupy the space rather than the other person. So really looking for that sense your hip's going to slice into the space. Yeah, okay, good. So that's okay, great. We'll just take this now into Zengo. So again, focus on that same thing. You're entering the hips on both sides. Right side over the top of the head. Left side wedging the hip in. Around the back. Wedging in on the right. Wedging in on the left. Entering into the hand each time. Enter into it. Enter into it. Enter into it. Okay, good. So get the main thing. I'll try and show this a bit. You want the hips, the back of the hips, have the sense that they're pressing into the space. So you want, as you raise and drop the sword, you want the hips to really slot in, and that's true on both sides. So that the hips are really have the sense of this. As soon as again, it comes from weight in the arm. What I don't want to happen in the hips is this. I don't want them to kick up at the back. Kick up at the back. So have the sense that the hips are actually spreading into the ground. Spreading into the ground as you find them. So again, you're looking to really stable, especially the lower back. And again, the sense of wedging in, the hip settles. The hip settles rather than the hip kicks out. The hip kicks out. So simplify the footwork as much as you can in this case. Just think about settle. Settle the hip. Nice. That's great. Okay, we'll just take it into number 5. So the kind of key movements you need for in terms of practicing Kumitachi, number 1. I usually do Zengo because you're practicing left and right. Number 5 we'll go into is Yokumen. And number 7 is these are the kind of main saburi we use in the Kumitachi. So it's a kind of essential set for practicing the Kumitachi. So in this case, just practice in this case 1 cut. So just starting with the right side, you're going to now take it into a step, working with a Yokumen cut. So really take your time, find the kamae, sink into it, find the cut. This way. In this case, the key with this is the right hand's going to pass just in front of the head. So you've got a circular movement. Then using the center line of the body, the spinal line, the sword, a little bit more of a circular path. And the cut itself, a little bit more diagonal. Again, just one cut at a time, this one. Good. Okay, good. We'll just go to, most of you kind of really familiar with this, but we'll just go to a little simple exercise with it. So what you want to do is you're working now with where the sword's going to go in a circular path. So you want the hips to affect the sword out, So what you're looking for in this movement, rather than kind of working straight up and down, which is possible, but in this case you're looking for the sword to basically cover the body across. So just play with here, just the sense of, you can do this from any position, but you just want to get a sense that you're connecting the hands, the hips, and you're going to, in this case, let the sword come out in a circular path. Let the sword come out in a circular path. So you want, don't focus so much on the tip, but it's more again that connection in the hands. You're coiling the grip. So you're doing like this kind of thing with the grip. Coiling. So you're practicing with a kind of very inflexible instrument, but you want to have a sense that you're coiling with it. So just play with both sides. So you're really trying to get some mobility into the sword. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Great. The main thing with this in terms of the structure, especially when you go into these kind of coiling movements, and this is especially true, especially when we're going into the Taijutsu as well, you don't want the structure to start to twist out. So these are the key areas of the shoulders. You don't want the shoulders to start to come out of the structure in this kind of way. These are useful in terms of kind of blocking positions, but even when you go into this position, you don't want the structure to pull out of itself. These are really bad for kind of receiving weight or receiving pressure. So really get a sense first with the shoulders that they can really relax down. So again, you want them to stay in the structure. Relax down, stay in the structure. So just do it like going into the full cut, but just do it as kind of relaxed as you can, especially in terms of the shoulders, maintaining the structure. Maintaining inside the structure. You don't want them in a way to kind of come out of the stack of the body. There we go. Good. That's it. There we go. That's it. Nice. Wow. Good. Wow. Good. Great. We'll just take it now into 2 steps with the full cut. So again, starting on the right side, first cutting on the left. Again, really allow the cut to kind of settle into the ground, and then cutting on the right, settle into the ground. So just really give yourself time, the beginning, the end of each cut, settle in, settle in. The key thing to work on now is really work on a nice clean movement. So it's a static practice. whereas these static practices are really about movement. So going from stillness into movement, back into stillness, which is always about the ground, trying to find the ground each time, settling into the movement. Great. Okay, great. So the main difference as well in terms of the yokomen, especially this cut, in contrast to the shonen work, in particular like the first suburi, you've got a really separate raise to the cut. So this is really two distinct movements: the raise, cut. Even like number 2, raise, cut. So when you work in shonen, that tends to be the kind of pattern: raise, cut. So, but in the yokomen, you've got those movements come together. So what you're looking to do is bring them together. So the raise, the cut, one movement, rather than which is in a way is fine for practice, but get it in a sense like you're doing. If you do this as an attack, you're looking for, in this case, the sword's covering the body, and then I attack behind it. So the attack's actually coming out of the raise, straight out of it. So as you press the body in, the cut's coming right behind it. So just imagine it's, don't imagine it's one movement. Try it as one movement. Imagine you're cutting right into something. So you're advancing, covering the body, and cutting all in one. Yeah, good. Good. Great. Very good. Great. Okay, great. So we'll take this now into the first kumikachi. So we'll just look first. Well, I won't spend a lot of time on it. We've not got a lot of time anyway, but just on the defense or the attacking row in this case. So coming from here, the legs coming out to the side, you've got the strike low, raising up to the top, bringing the feet together, finding your left cut, and then coming over, cutting on the right side. This way. You spend a little bit of time here. So you come in, down, up to the top of the head, cutting on the left side, advancing in on the right. Right. So using the tricky movement, this is very first movement. So there's a couple of tendencies in this case. The first one is in a way it's kind of natural. It's the sense that as you go in, the sense of pulling back the sword and then wham, coming in with it. Makes sense. It feels very powerful, and in a way it is. But it gives a huge signal about what you're about to do. So in that case, if you've got the person attacking, they raise up and you pull the sword back, just cut straight down onto the head this way. So anyway, what you're looking to do in this case is just think as soon as the person's about to raise the sword, or as soon as they do raise the sword, you're coming in with the sword. So the tip of the sword doesn't pull back, it's not pulling back, and the in, it's going straight from this position in, straight in. And you don't need a lot of power, but if you imagine connecting, you're looking to connect with the diaphragm. Here with this part of the sword right into the diaphragm. So this is the kind of the movement for it. Again, you're not kind of pulling back with it. This will really throw the structure as well. So think about entering the weight down into that foot and then snapping out with it. So you enter the weight, snap into it, and then follow it up into the head this way. And then the rest of it is the same. Yeah. Okay, great. We'll go from we'll spend a little bit of time here actually. So here, the next position or the next attack think about is as you come up to the top, the next attack is going to be for the person's wrist. So as they finish this pull back, your aim is to come right onto the top of this wrist here. You can go to the head with it, but the closest part is actually the wrist. So you're looking at the kind of a bit more of application of it. What you're looking for now, the big thing to avoid here is not letting the arms kind of roll around in big movements. So really feel that what you're doing from here is coming right from the center of the body and coming to stick out. So play with getting from this position. Really, this is why this position is so important. I need to be really like seated into the ground, and then the hips are free. to rotate the body into that cut.
Oh, wow.
It's a really efficient movement. You've got one up to the top and then roll the hip into the cut this way. Just play with that position here. That's it. Boom. Good. That's it. Boom. That's it. Good. Very good. Wow. Like this. Wow. Good. Nice. Nice. Good. 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 So. Nice, nice, nice. Nice. Good. Great, and we'll just go again into the defending side. So you've got now a different intention with it. So what you want to do now is you've got the sense of raising to give an opening up to the top. So you're raising to opening. If the person's distracted, you kind of come in for the attack. But in this case, we're going straight into the move, come up to the top. And then what you want to do is as the sword, the movement you've just done is in that position, you see the sword's passing through the center line as it comes through. So what you're looking to do with your sword is drop down onto the sword. Break the sword down and then follow up with another attack. So what you're looking to do is come up, set up a trap, and then from here drop the hip back and strike down onto the top of the sword. And then you're either coming into a ski or something like this. So this kind of feeling with it, opening, giving the opening, cutting down with the hip. So it's got a cutting feeling, but it's got this kind of a slamming with the hips. So it comes up, drop the hips down. Comes up, drop the hip down, right on the sword. So give that a try, just that movement. So. Okay. Yeah, if you're thinking in terms of like technique or in terms of taijutsu, if you think about the end of the shihonage, so you think as you come up underneath and then this sense of cutting the person down with the arms. So although we're doing that in a rotation, the sense as you come through, pressing the hips down. So you've got that feeling of the hips really coming down into it. So if you were to do a not so nice shihonage, you basically drop them straight down into the ground. The arm would come up and the head would go. But think about that sense of coming in, dropping it. That same sense here, coming up, dropping the hips into it. That's into the hips. Sliding down. And it's coming up this way. Just a few there. We'll take it further. That's it. That's it. Great. Okay, great. We'll take it to the end. So we'll do the three movements, really focus on the end now. So you've got the raise up, cutting back. Here you change the hips into a block. So you're blocking that strike to the wrist. And then the key move now is the finish. So going back to that all those points with the first suburi. You're coming back, changing the feet, and then here wedging the hip in through. And in this case, the hips are a little bit more open. You're going to a more of a yokomen strike at the end. So you've got the raise down, change the hip for the block, and then rolling back, wedging through with the final cut. Again, really with that sensation that you're wedging through the person's sword. Wedging through. Just really give yourself space at the end. Check the structure. Last few minutes.
Two.
Great. Just the last point. One slight point with this. The problem with this movement is it's a backwards movement in the kumi tachi. So if you go back, the tendency is to pull the hips back with it and end up kind of hollowing out the movement. So in that case, you really get pulled back and you get pushed back with it. So imagine, although it's a backwards movement, the feelings to enter forwards. So in reality, what you're looking for in this movement is actually to cut in to the person. So imagine that if you just practice that last movement, just the last 30 seconds or so, just play with the sense of retreating, pulling the body back, but actually entering in with the cut. So you've got the body's actually moving backwards, but you're pressing in. Body moves back, pressing in. So it's that sense of extension as you move backwards. Just the last few cuts of it. Really good. Alrighty, great, perfect. So we will stop there. Very good. Okay. Great. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもあり
どうも
がとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Great. There we go. Thank you for reading.